We're here to talk through this hard Battleship Sudoku by Serkan Yürekli called Dominoes, and we can see that the theme is just because we get 16 givens and they're all joined together in this way, but looks like there'll be much more subtle things, particularly with the battleship fleet and just the logic of the grid that really drive much more of the theme as we get going. I'm going to start with some Sudoku steps at the start. I see two twos at the top, so try to place another two sixes, which gives me the six, puts a six in here. Two threes on the right side of the grid gives me another three. Two twos here give me this two, which puts in this two. This one is going to be in one of those three cells, but nothing more really on the right side of the grid. Five coming across, not another five. Looks like this three coming across is the only space that I otherwise have some stuff. So threes are eliminated, just these cells. Puts a three in here, and then a three in one of these spaces, three in those spaces. So a little bit of Sudoku start, and maybe that will help as we start looking towards the fleet. So let's think about the battleship constraints a bit. We've got some missing cells, so let's think about the counts. We've got a total of 9 and 7 is 16, so there's going to be 4 more in these in green. And we have a total of 6, 7, 10, so there's going to be 10 more in the 5th and 9th columns. So there'll be a lot of ships, probably some vertical ships in the 10th and 9th columns. And this may be where it's useful, as we do in a set of these puzzles, to think about where the biggest ships can go. But before we do that, let's actually just look at the fleet a bit and see if anything stands out. There's one thing, and I've constructed a ton of Battleship Sudoku in my life, having written a book of these. There are 8 sevens in this fleet, 2 submarines, and then every big ship has a 7 in it. And that actually looks like it's going to have a key interaction with this grid. Notice that one column has a 0. So there will be a 7 in this column, but it won't be part of a ship. That means that every other column, particularly these 3 that have just these single cells, these have to be 7 clues where that goes. If this were instead a ship segment, then we can't put a 7 with a ship in this column, and we can't then get 8 sevens as part of ships in the whole grid. So these ones, these columns, like the 2nd, 4th, and 7th column, look to be very limiting. And why are they limiting? Well, what it means is we actually have some places we can't put in big ships. Like we can't put a big ship across these 3 columns, like the 2nd through the 4th or the 1st through the 4th. And why is that? Well, this cell and this cell would both have to be 7s. And it's actually the case, look at this, because the 7s are on the extremes of the cruisers, the left to right side, can't be a 7 here, and can't be a 7 here. So this row actually can't have a big ship in it. Neither can this or this. And by big ship, I mean a 3 or 4 unit ship. If I come up here, I can't put a big ship here, just as before. I can't put a big ship here. I can't put a big ship here because none of the big ships have a 2 in them. So with the Sudoku numbers marked in, this is marked off. I can put as big as a cruiser. Let me use orange for that. I can put a cruiser in these 3 cells. Looks like I can get a battleship in the grid, but it's got to be in the 3rd through 6th column if it's horizontal, or it's got to be in these spaces. It can't be in this space because that would have 2 sevens. So this would have to be 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9 coming left to right. So we can mark those. Notice that we can't get a battleship and a cruiser collectively in these rows. So I can have one of, but not both of, these 5th and 6th rows have a big ship. So in the rows, I at least have 2 options. Let's look at the columns. Can I put a cruiser in here? Well, 6 and 3 are both already part of the column and box, so the big options are both removed there. So this is off, this is off, this is off. I can certainly put a battleship or a cruiser in this column, like say here, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 3, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7. I can have 6, 7, 8, 9 come in here, or 5, 6, 7 here, or 3, 5, 7 here. So I have 4 spaces, these 2 columns, this row, and then the set of rows, but these 4 spaces for 3 big ships. So that means we're almost there to having a key constraint we can work through, and it looks like the columns aren't going to be where the constraint's going to really pass through. I think maybe the rows are, and I'm going to start at this top row, and the reason I'm going to start there is actually because it's right near a row that's got just 1 ship segment in it. And so that suggests that we only have at most 1 vertical ship which is stretching from the top row down. So let's imagine we have like and you know, a vertical ship here or here. Like, don't even care if this is a valid ship yet. The question I want you to ask is, can we have only single unit ships as the rest of the space and not a 2-unit or 3-unit ship? What I'm trying to get is at least this cell to be part of a ship, saying it's going to be part of a 2 or a 3. And so if this has only single unit ships, it would have 3 submarines and a vertical ship. And the submarines are 2, 4, and 7 and 7. So we'd have to put a 4 and 7 in 2 of the submarines, but 2's already used. That's not going to work. So the first thing I think I can mark in general of the ships is there is a 2 or 3-unit ship coming across this way. And that marks off a few more cells. And in marking those off, I now have a more limited space for this column and these rows together to have a big ship. I actually now have, whether it's a 3-unit here or a 3-unit here or something else, I don't see a way to have a ship here and here at the same time. Let's show you some examples of that. If I took these 3 on an extreme, I'm now forced to take these 4 ships to finish that row, and that's going to have some issues, including the fact this isn't a valid cruiser layout. If I connect into this row, I now eliminate out all this space, and I still don't have an ability to take 3 there. So again, I get 1 valid ship, and every other option you can draw is going to have sort of some form of that story work out for it. That I've got 1 ship here or 1 ship here that are 3 or 4 units large, which means I now must take a 3 or 4 unit ship in this column, and I must take a 3 or 4 unit ship there. And maybe I could have done this sooner without showing I at least needed to take this as a 2-unit horizontal ship, but getting this as a 3-unit ship, it must be the 357 because the 6 is already over to the left, so we can mark this ship in. That 3 gives me this 3. Those 5s give me this 5. What more do I have? So there are no more ships that have a 3 in them, so this I can mark off. This column has its 1 ship segment placed. We probably have, so notice that every 7 that's not in this 8th column has to be part of a ship. And if these cells can't be part of a ship, then the 7 is in one of these cells, which means a 7 is right here, and that 7 then is part of a ship. Mark that in. Marking the cell off removes this. As a cell, we're going to have a ship in one of these spaces. This now probably gives us even more constraints. What do I want to do with this? So we probably can't have vertical battleship that's too close to these clues, because this 7 is both going to be part of a ship, but it's not an extreme of a ship. And maybe what I want to actually do is think about like 7, 6, 5. That looks okay here. 7, 6, 5, not there. So I'm not going to be coming vertically through this space. Actually, I also can't. I can color this blue at the bottom. The last and only remaining thing that can be shaded in the space is a 7 number, wherever that goes. If 357 is used, here's an interesting thing. So the remaining big ships are 567 and 6789, and actually 567 is here and 6789 is over here, but we did say 1 big ship has to be in this column. So I think I have 6, 7 as forced, like this. And I don't know more than that, but this 7 puts in this 7, and now does limit this 1, 3 over here. It puts in a 5, 6 here. That 7 can't be in this cell. In the cell, remember, this has to have a 7 wherever it has a ship. Also means this cell can't be a 7. So now let's come back to thinking, do we have a vertical battleship? And with this cell marked off right here, we now have issues like this can't be the vertical battleship because it eliminates everything to the left. This can't be the battleship, it eliminates everything to the left. This can't be the battleship going to be touching a potential ship up here, whichever digit of these is the 7. And this can't be the battleship because 7 is not at the end of it. So I've now convinced myself that this has a cruiser, and this, where we didn't have a horizontal battleship anymore, let's sort of go back and see that we don't have a horizontal battleship. 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. The last digit that's in a ship in the space has to be a 7 because we already have this digit up here. So this would be a problem, this would be a problem. So 6, 7, 8, 9 can't go horizontal anymore. It can't go vertical here anymore. It can only be here. This is a really tricky deduction, but looks like a necessary one to get this progress. 4 and 2 in this space. We got a 4 down here. 1, 8, 9 with a 4 up top. 4 in these cells. 1, 8, 9 to go there. So still a fair number of options, but we have marked off this space and this space. This row actually is a row that's not going to have 7s in it anymore. So this is the lone space. So all the other rows are going to need to have a 7 that's shaded. So we'll keep that in mind. So one thing we can do is mark off coming to the left over here. We're looking for 5, 6, 7 as the last cruiser. And can it go horizontal? 5, 6, 7 can't be horizontal in this row anymore because 5, 6 is over here. And 5, 6, 7 doesn't have the right space to be horizontal on this side. The 7 sort of going here is possible, but the 4, 8 would take the rest and we can't come to the left. So this is no longer an option. So this has to be a vertical 5, 6, 7. The 7 in the middle isn't going to work. So 7, 6, 5 not coming through here must take this cell. So that marks off these. Means this is actually shaded in. So this comes up. What that does is marks these off. 8 to the left, 4 to the right. Got a 4 coming down here. This is 7, 6, 5 coming down. A 5 over there. This is a last sort of only shaded cell in the space. It takes the 1. That means this isn't marked in. So we need to have a 7 in one of these cells. This is 2, 5, 7 for the whole space. This is 2, 7, 5, 7, 5. This is part of a ship then for sure. 2 ship spaces over here. This 2 is going to be part of that submarine, so we can actually mark things we've now put in the grid a little better. We need one more shaded in this row, and that looks like the 7, 5 destroyer. This is where the 7 is going to move to. 2s come over to here, puts in a 2 here. You have 1, 8, 9 in those spaces. See, I've got a 3 that's got to be in the top here, puts in a 3, puts in a 1. The 7's part of a ship. I can't join to the 2, so this is another sub. We now have for sure. Just looking for more Sudoku steps. 6, 6, 6. This box has one spot for a 6. That does now force this 3, forces this 3. This is 5, last spot for a 5, puts in a 5, 6. We've got 1 and 9. Puts another 9. Now 1, 6 coming across. Those 5s, this is the last 5, puts in this 4. Puts in this 4. 4 is interesting, I guess, because it is one of the last submarine has to be a 4, so where can that go? It's not in this region, the upper left, because the 4 is put in here. The only place I'm seeing right now is right there. So that is now the 4th cell marked off in that space. This 5 can't be part of a ship, so this has to come down and be a ship here, but that's going to be an 8 or 9, not a 4. And there's a 9 up above, so this is a 7, 8 destroyer. That 8 comes across to here, moves down the 4, moves up a 9. Last cell is a 4. This is 8 and 9, puts in a 9. We have 1 and 6. 1 to the left, 6 to the right. 1 here, 6, 1. The 1's come in here, puts in this 1. We have an 8, 9, 8, 9, 9, 8. We know we need to 7 submarine, which is right here, and we're going to need another 7 ship, which is going to be the 7 with the 9, so that's going to resolve the last double in the grid. So really great puzzle, really challenging puzzle though if you didn't both get a sense of the Sudoku constraint, the row and column constraints where we had 4 places for big ships, and then that there are 8 ships with 7s in them, which is a pretty master constraint, particularly how it makes all these 1 columns very tricky to be places horizontal big ships go. There's actually only 1 horizontal big ship, which is right at the top when we get to the final solved state of the grid. So really good set of work throughs, maybe a little cute. I think it was planned, but we'll have to ask Serkan later if it was planned to have this 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9 option here, which let us place this 7 without knowing what kind of ship it was. I actually enjoyed finding that during the solve. So hope you got something from watching this video, and thanks for trying out the Sunday Stumper in general. We'll see you again soon.